Good morning, John Gilkison here. It is Tuesday, January 7th, 2020, and I wanted to do a report on a miles per gallon test I did on a boat tail I attached to my pickup truck. And of course I had to compare the boat tail on the pickup truck to the pickup truck driving it without the boat tail and just a flat bed cover. So here's what the boat tail looks like. You can see it on the back there, and you can see there's a flat bed cover. It's a G4 bed cover for my Ford F-150 XLT 4x4 with a 6.5 foot bed, and it's an EcoBoost 3.5 liter engine. And this is a close-up of a little doghouse I had to build to blend the air off the bed cover so it would go over the top of the boat tail. Now the reason for this is the boat tail wasn't designed originally for my pickup truck as it is now. When I first acquired the boat tail back in 2014, it came with this Aero lid, which is a camper shell, which is aerodynamic, and then the boat tail was a proof of concept of even improving the aerodynamics even more. And in 2015, I sold the Aero lid because we were getting into fifth wheel camping, and it was just a lot of trouble to take the Aero lid on and off the truck to hook up the trailer. And I found a fellow up at Truth or Consequences who wanted it, and he had a flat bed cover, a G4 bed cover, which I traded him, and we traded for the cost difference between the two. And I've been happy with it ever since because of the utility of it. It allows me easy access to the bed and so forth. And but the boat tail's set in my storage building for 3 or 4 years now, and it's been unused because it sticks up about 2.5 inches above the bed, and you can't put it on and drive down the road with it because the air would be caught and it would parachute into the boat tail. And so I finally got around to making this little doghouse to attach to the back in order to be able to utilize this boat tail. Now the reason for it was I seen a show called Transport Evolved, and there's a lady on there, I call her NGB for short, Nikki Gordon Bloomfield, and she owns a Chevy Bolt, and they have a lot of camera gear associated with their show. They're a professional vlogger, unlike me, just shooting with a cell phone. And they've had a lot of trouble going through airports with all this camera gear and so forth, and yet it's too much gear to all pack into the Chevy Bolt when they're driving. So she bought a little motorcycle trailer, which is nice, is well constructed, fiberglass construction and everything. Just 12-inch tires on the back, but it had about 3 or 4 foot long hitch. And she didn't know what the impact would be on her range or energy consumption, but I haven't had any follow-up reports on it, but I made a comment that she could have gotten a cargo carrier which would fit directly behind the vehicle, and that would slot into your hitch. And they have, it'd be all fiberglass construction, and it would have a lockable lid, and you could open it up and put all your gear in it. And you can even get what's called swing away hitches. So when you had the cargo carrier back there behind your vehicle, and you wanted to get into the back of your Chevy Bolt, for example, lift up the lift gate, you just swing away the hitch. The whole thing would swing off to the side. You could lift it up, and so it'd be very convenient. And I posited that it would probably be able to improve her MPGs, because the cargo carrier would be hiding in the wake area behind the vehicle, and what she was doing would not, because of the gap between the trailer and the tow vehicle. Now, the penalty she's paying may not be much, but it would be a penalty. And of course, she's got the rolling resistance of a couple extra tires, and if she gets a flat, she has to deal with that. And none of that's true with the cargo carrier, and the cargo carrier would possibly improve her range. So I thought this was proof of concept to test out my bed cover and boat tail combination. Here's another picture, which I didn't show you. This from the back portion of the vehicle. As you can see, I got it rigged up with tail lights, and I even have a license plate mount back there with a light. And you could do that with your cargo carrier, so you wouldn't be blocking your plate. You would it'd fit in between the tail lights, and then it would you'd have a license plate mount back there, or you could even put signals on it. If it blocked your tail lights, you could put signal lights on the cargo carrier and hook it up. So, and this is normally not done, but it should be, because it potentially could mean an improvement in MPGs or range in an electric vehicle's case. So over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I had the boat tail on the truck, and I found it there was 2 days, consecutive days, that were the weather was going to be very similar, and I got a temperature range between about 47 and 51 degrees Fahrenheit. Barometric pressure was 30.39 inches. And I think on the second day it was 30.34 inches. And I had winds about 2-3 miles per hour out of the northwest or whatever. And they were negligible. You couldn't see any movement. And I think I seen pecan dust floating from down in the valley in the air, and it was just barely moving. And you could see it in the air and moving a little bit, but not very much. So, and anyway, we have not that far from my house. There's the I-25 north going to Albuquerque. It's a 9-mile exit in Doñana, and there's a gas station right off the exit. So I went down there. Once the truck was warmed up, I went down there and I gassed up. And then I got on the interstate going north, and I went to exit 19, which is my exit, Radium Springs exit. And I got off, and I just went back. And it turned out the whole circuit was 18.7 miles, not 20. But anyway, as soon as I got back, I fueled up, and then I had my MPG for that circuit. Now I did 70 miles per hour. I used cruise control. And every mile, I had a voice recorder going, and I read out the MPG estimate from the dash, and also I had a Garmin, and I read out the elevation. So I had the elevation for every mile, and I had an MPG estimate, and so forth. So on the first day, Saturday, I tested the boat tail, and I came up with 18.869 miles per gallon. And that turned out it took 0.991 gallons of fuel. And I gassed up at the same pump every time, and the truck facing in the same direction, same position roughly. So on the second day, Sunday, later that day, I took the boat tail off the truck and the doghouse, and then the second day, Sunday, I tested again. Now I had to test about an hour earlier to get roughly the same temperature variations, because it was a slightly warmer day. And So I did that, and I didn't have to do the elevations on the second day. And there were no stops. When I got off at exit 19, I did what's called a Texas stop, where I just rolled through a stop sign a few miles per hour, so the vehicle didn't have to bust loose from a standing stop. And I got back on the interstate. And you can get away with that out where I live, because there's hardly any traffic, or you don't see cops hardly, so at least normally. So anyway, on the second day, the test turned out to be 17.74 miles per gallon under very similar conditions, and took 1.054 gallons of fuel, and that turns out to be almost precisely a 5% difference, which in NGB's case with her Chevy Bolt would probably improve the range of her Chevy Bolt by about 12 miles hauling gear. Now, the only difference between the two configurations, other than a coefficient of drag, which is that with the boat tail and the doghouse on the truck weighed 70 pounds more. So I titled my a blog, I did a blog on it, and I titled it Aerostealth, or the case for strap-on Aero appliances, because I've been noticing a trend out there in the blogger world, on automotive journalists, quote, experts, is that they use the words aerodynamics. They talk about coefficient of drag, and they'll talk about, this kind of stuff. And so they're aware of these terms, but I think their awareness kind of stops just beyond that point, because they're not really cognizant of what it means. And it's the illusion of knowledge is what I call it, and that's why I use the term Aerostealth, because aerodynamics hides in plain view in front of most people. They see it, they kind of think they know what it is. Oh, that looks like that shape's more slippery, but what it translates into, what it actually means, they really don't know. So it's possible to tow trailers with the trailer configured right for the vehicle that's towing it. You could actually have a net MPG gain, not pay any penalty for hauling a trailer with more weight, if you improve the aerodynamics of the whole package. Because the air likes the extra length. It doesn't like the air gap between the back of the vehicle and then the trailer. It doesn't like that. So what happens in the case of my boat tail is the air comes off the back of the cab of the truck, and it's a rolling, it's called vortex shedding. It rolls, and there's a low pressure area right there behind the rear window, and it rolls over, and then it rolls off the back of the truck, and then there's another wake area where it's vortex shedding. So you get two of them on a pickup truck. It's not good. So, but my truck has a wake area, and when I put the boat tail on there, I've reduced the wake area by about 50%. And so when the air comes off the back of the boat tail, it's more organized, and the wake area is smaller, so the induced drag is less. So I improved my MPGs. I unloaded my motor by about 5%. And this is all good news. This is why you want aerodynamics on an electric vehicle, because it gives electric vehicles more range. So I'm going to let it go there. You can read my blog at EVO, Electric Vehicle Organization, on Facebook, SNM, Southern New Mexico. And so there you go. Back in 2014, I had one of the original Cybertrucks. If you want to call it that, it was gasoline powered, but still, this shape isn't new to me. And Elon Musk and company at Tesla know what they're doing. It's all hiding in plain sight. Aerostealth. See you later. Bye-bye.